This is I'm taking a shot at my fourth term for Trent Hills Council. I enjoy what I do, and the council has achieved a lot of great things during the last 11 years, all three councils, and I'd like to continue with that. There's still much to do. Some things that we're in the midst of, such as 2 bridge replacements. One of them, the federal bridge in Hastings, which is a top priority right now, and that we do everything we can to mitigate the impacts that are coming. We know there's going to be impacts, but we have plans in place, and we need to make sure that those plans roll out as best they can, and that our staff are ready and available to help the citizens over there. And we've got a great working group over there, the Hastings Helpers, who will, of course, they're doing their work to ensure that seniors and those that are shut in get their groceries, get their medications, and so on. Those who travel through Hastings and need parking, we will be providing parking lots on both sides of the bridge, and alternate delivery services and transportation are in the works as well as the usual customary municipal services, the delivery of snow plowing, street lighting, street sweeping, all those things we do, garbage pickup and so on. So we have those plans in place, and that's just one of the priorities. You may already know that I asked council and was supported that we direct staff to create a process for a new comprehensive service delivery review. We've been so busy during the last over a decade going as fast as we can to keep up with provincial legislation, I might add mandated legislation for water and sewer and the safety of our drinking water for our citizens, and the replacement of all the infrastructure and the ancillary components to those, one of which we still have yet to do. We need to do some work on our water tower here in Campbellford, and we're looking at the alternatives what we can do to make that happen. We've been so busy with infrastructure and working with our community groups that it's time to step back and talk to each and every one of our citizens and our taxpayers and our contracted services. And we want to hear from people how they think we're doing and what changes they'd like to see. This is something that I've instilled in all three councils that I've worked with, is that we're very adept at embracing change, and we need to be prepared to meet the expectations of our residents and our taxpayers, but it's time that we heard directly from them. So we will be forming a process that we can engage each and every person, and we will start off by making sure that we inform each and every citizen and taxpayer in Trent Hills of that process is going to occur and how they can participate, whether that's attending meetings, whether they can make submissions, and a process in both ways that they can ask questions. Some people just have questions and say, why is it you do this, or why is it you don't do that? And we need to answer those questions. Some people want services streamlined to save money, and that's a good point. Some people want services enhanced. Some people want services enhanced but don't want to pay more for that. So we need to explain to people what it is that we do and why it costs what it does, and show the track record in the past and where we think we can go in the future, but we want to make sure that we're on the same page with those that are paying the bill. Every decision council makes, it's absolutely imperative that we take the ability to pay into consideration, because there's basically 3 categories of must do and nice to do, and some things are just maybe a little too frivolous or beyond our budget. And one of those things that we've just overcome is the redevelopment of all of our wellness and recreational centers. Council now has approved the purchase of the new air-supported structure for Hastings, and that's a real exciting project for Trent Hills. That's going to put a huge economic boost into Hastings, as the marina did, and at the same time it's going to provide a service to all of our residents and outside of our municipality. I can just hardly wait to see that structure completed, and we're hoping to have that up and operating this fall. However, that process is moving forward, along with the addition in Warkworth and the services that it's going to provide. And in Campbellford here, the big structure, as soon as we've got the last words from the Fair Board, which we're still waiting for, we'll be able to move forward on that as well. Fundraising efforts are continuing and working well. And once we've got those final details in from the Fair Board, we will be able to move forward with chasing after corporate sponsorships as well. We've got the plan in place. We can afford our 1/3 share, and that means that we do need to tackle our federal and provincial representatives. They have both said that they're on board and will do whatever they can to help us get those grants. We just need to ensure that they get all the support that they need to help us bring those grants to fruition. The hydro rates. And I don't need to say a whole lot more about how angry we all are about the cost of hydro and the money that we see being wasted from not only Hydro 1, OPG, the effects of the Green Energy Act. As you know, it was my letter which was endorsed by Council, to Ombudsman Andre Marin, who agreed to step in and do an investigation of Hydro 1. He started off with 2 issues that were important to Ontarians, and I have since written him a letter and asking him, once he's completed that investigation, and I suspect that he'll see enough smoke through the first investigation, that he will continue on and look at the unfair billing practices and the horrendous costs. I've stated to the Premier at the last conference and her cabinet that the province needs to do something what we're doing. They need to step back and do a comprehensive service delivery review and not give municipalities the tools to do further taxations. I've told the Premier that I'm not interested in picking the pockets of our taxpayers anymore. They need to take the dollars that they already receive and reallocate those. They need to financially support the cost of not only delivering electricity but generating it. That's an expectancy of Ontarians. We know we can't pay the full cost. And the idea of electricity becoming a full cost recovery program is just ridiculous. We can't afford it. It's going to drive seniors out of their homes, the working poor. It's going to push them over to the edge. Industry and businesses will not be able to afford their electricity bills. It's going to be a job killer. It's got to stop. 42% increase over the next 5 years. I don't know who dreamt this up, but that person needs to be taken out to the woodshed, and I'm here to help them. Water and sewer rates. We know we pay high water and sewer rates, and I have written the Premier on behalf of Council with their endorsement, and asked her to instill recommendation number 84 from Justice O'Connor's Walkerton water inquiry, and we're all well aware of the disaster that occurred in Walkerton and the financial impact that's had on all municipalities across Ontario. Our water is safe, we know that. But recommendation number 84 also said that any funding scheme for a full cost recovery system that is unaffordable needs to be financially supported by the province. We've done our part. We've done everything we can to be as efficient, and cost-saving measures have been put in place. We've done everything we can do to make that happen. The province needs to step up and do their part. They've implemented all of the rest of the recommendations, and number 84, of course, that's where the province financial burden is going to be brought to bear on their part, and they need to do that. There's not a lot of municipalities they need to support. We are one of them, and we want that service and that funding brought to help bring our water sewer rates better in line with the rest of the province. Joint and several liabilities, that's another issue I've been taking on behalf of all Ontarians. Joint and several liability is an outdated act of legislation that is unfairly treating municipalities where someone who could be totally impaired in their vehicle and on a slippery road and speeding and drive off the road may not have a proper insurance or any insurance, and if a municipality can be found just 1% liable, we can be forced to pay 100% of the bill. And that's happening. With a 52% increase in our costs of insurance coverage for 2014, this legislation needs to go. The province has, and my municipal partners across the province, we've been after the province about this, and the province was prepared to make some changes to the act just before the last provincial election. But that legislation died on the order paper, and we need to chase after them to bring that back, to either make drastic changes to joint and several liabilities or get rid of it. If a municipality is found guilty for some unfortunate accident on a road, we should pay our proportionate fare and our part of what the bill should be. We should not be forced to pay 100%. That's just ridiculous, especially when the driver of the vehicle in many cases was 100% guilty of the problem. Lastly, for today, but certainly not my total list, you can see my whole list on my website, is to ensure that the second bridge corridor here in Campbellford, that all the affected property tax owners are fairly and properly compensated. I said that since day one, that wherever a bridge should be selected, whatever locations should be selected, those property owners need to be fairly and properly compensated, and it would be my priority to make sure that happens.
That will be the county's responsibility.
It'll be the county's responsibility, but as a county councillor, I will be their voice there to make sure that they are properly represented. And lastly, for now, before I take on any of your questions, one of my opponents, now that I have two, has been making some just horrendous claims on his web page, and I can tell, and on the radio, on our local CKOL Radio, I can tell you right now that none of them are true. Not one thing, as he said, is true. And he does have a disclaimer on his webpage stating that, however, with whatever he said, he will have to wait till he's elected before he can make sure that what he said is accurate. Interesting. I'm not prepared to enter a mudslinging contest by any means, but I will not condone someone lying about the great things that my past three councils have achieved and the great plans and 10, 20 year and beyond plans that we have for Trent Hills, for people to come out and look for wedge issues that don't exist, and to use our community groups. I was very disappointed during the last couple of functions here in Trent Hills to see new councillors lurking around our community events and campaigning.
Candidates, not new councillors, new candidates?
Yes, sorry, yes, yes, absolutely, new candidates. New candidates for council is what I meant to say. Using our community groups who are doing just a fabulous job of providing entertaining new activities for our residents and our visitors, and bringing such great exposure to our municipality for people wanting to get on council and use those groups for campaigning purposes is it's low. And one of my opponents in particular has been warned by the clerk, who sent that warning out to all candidates, that campaigning on municipal property is illegal, and he continued to do so during the Waterfront Festival here in Campbellford. And I'm practically at a loss for words of how angry I feel that someone would use one of our community venues for his own political gain. So with that, I'd be pleased to take any of your questions.
First of all, this is a pretty detailed booklet here. Well,
that's the largest one I've produced yet.
I was going to say, the last one was 12 pages.
Well, it's mainly because there's a very large section in there on the bridge. There's been so much misinformation and inaccuracies over the years told to people that they're confused. And one thing for sure is that they're sick of hearing it. The story in that bridge is directly from me. People can take it for what they want, and they can see in there what they want to, but it's accurate. And the reasons why we came to the final bridge decision are detailed in there, and that's why the booklet this year is large, because of that large section. This way, I get to get my voice out there 100% without it being paraphrased, without it being manipulated, and that's why there's that large section in there.
And this is available on your website?
The entire story is available verbatim on my website.
Like this whole booklet, this whole thing?
The whole booklet, those are excerpts from the website in that booklet. Okay. There is, I would estimate, 50 times as much information as in the booklet on the website, and detailed information about the voting process by mail again this year. The new voterlookup.ca system that people can use. It only takes less than a minute to make sure that they are on the voters list. All the links are in there. And a lot of my good work with the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. During my first term as Warden of Northumberland County, we produced a prosperity plan which led to the $80 million EODF that has now been made during my second term as Warden. That now, as you know, is a permanent program. And Minister Dubin came to Campbellford to make that announcement that is now a permanent program, and that's $80 million now for small business in Eastern Ontario that can give them a hand up to help encourage new jobs and retain existing ones. The other thing, of course, is the broadband internet program that we initiated during my first term as Warden of Northumberland County on the Wardens Caucus, and the delivery of a minimum of 95% all Ontarians in Eastern Ontario, and we announced the project was completed for Northumberland County during my second term as Warden of Northumberland County. So that's now done and in place. In fact, with the additional huge amount of money from private investment, along with the $110 million that was invested from the province and the federal government, they've been able to go further now with that system. And the backbone is now being installed in all significant business parks in Eastern Ontario, including Campbellford.
I just want to just one last question, because we got more information than I'll ever be able to use. But health, just people might raise that question.
My health. Glad you asked that question. On my website,
ask it too.
On my website, there's a specific spot there about my health. I haven't felt better. I have certainly had my challenges during the last almost 4 years since I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. Most of my challenges related to not just the re-strengthening of my muscular system, but it was found right here in Campbellford Memorial Hospital by Dr. Glenn Garney's that I had also acquired a fistula, which is a fancy name for a hole where there shouldn't be a hole. And when they rearranged my plumbing, my stomach is now in the center of my lungs, and my one lung and my stomach decided, because of their very active. I have active cells. I'm a busy guy, and they decided to join. So I was literally drawing stomach contents into one of my lungs, and they've made 4 attempts now to close that. And it looks like I can say today that I've got at least a 95% belief that has been closed, and I'm eating well again. I feel strong. I'm no longer sitting down in the afternoon to just stretch my legs or have a nap. I'm back to full steam again. I just spent 4 days, as I was mentioning earlier, volunteering at the Havelock Jamboree, because they do so much for our Trent Hills Relay for Life, and as well as for Campbellford Memorial Hospital. They asked me to come and help out with some announcements on the stage for 4 days, and I worked every morning from 7 a.m. through till after midnight without having to take a break, without having to sit down and relax. I'm back, and I'm ready to go. And as I said, with the weight loss that I've had during the last 4 years, I've never been, I would say, in better health. And I'm looking forward to another challenge. Now that I've got that one licked, I need another one. We're knocking them off.
Nothing along the lines of a disease, though.
Oh, no.
I mean, in terms of challenges.
I wouldn't wish esophageal cancer on anyone. And there are several of us who are living with that in Trent Hills, and we stay tight. It's a very, very quickly developing disease globally, and people need to get out and get their endoscopies done, especially males, where historically esophageal cancer only tackled males 66 and older. It is tackling some females now, but on the males, it's dropping down. My surgeon stated that I believe at the time he told me his youngest patient was now 38. The only surety to cure is early detection. And fortunately, with the nurse practitioner that I was dealing with at the Trent Hills Family Health Team, Lori Davini was just fabulous. I was very coincidentally at the time going through a checkup to see how I was doing, because I hadn't had one in quite a number of years. and I was having difficulty swallowing at that time, and she got me into further diagnosis across the road at the hospital, and Dr. Suchi Lam picked up on the tumor immediately and sent me to Kingston. And we're so fortunate to have the great doctors and the great health care that we do here in Campbellford, and certainly in Kingston at the regional cancer center there. Fabulous people. Our system does work. I know that there's challenges, but our system works when we need it. And when you see what's going on south of the border, we're very fortunate to have it.
I just have one question about the picture. Who was in the picture? Your mother, your sister, children, grandchildren?
Yep.
Anyone else in this?
Not in that picture today. Yeah, most of my children were here. They all couldn't be here. My oldest son could not be with us, and some of the grandchildren couldn't be here. And of course, somebody's got to look after the business. And you've heard me say before that everyone should do what they do best. And she had to look after the business this morning. We didn't. We don't have a huge staff where we could rely on someone to just jump in at a moment's notice. So
I just wanted to get it and identify the people in the picture. That's all.
Yeah.
Not by name, but just
Yeah, no, that's what it was all about.
Yeah.
She worked morning through night when I was volunteering at the Jamboree this weekend, and that's one thing, because of what I do. It puts additional pressure on her, but she's fully supportive of not only our family business, but of what I'm doing for our municipality, and that's important to me, because when my wife no longer supports me, well, then it's time to step out. And I've been doing my own work on the cost of policing, and she represented us through the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, which we felt was our best advocacy group.
Was there anything from last week's announcement that changes your perspective?
Well, of course, I haven't seen we haven't seen the detailed numbers per municipality. I'm cautiously optimistic it'll be good news for Trent Hills. I've said all along that we've got a great police force, but that if the billing practices were unfair. As you know, during my first term of council, I refused to sign the new policing contract, and we spent almost 2 years in negotiations, and at the end of the day, we saved $250,000 a year, and we've been reaping the benefit of that $250,000 a year since that time, a decade ago. And even then, I've often said that there's still something wrong with the system. It's disproportionate between municipalities, and certainly with municipalities that have their own policing forces. They're paying twice what we are. But they can speak for themselves, because that's the type of policing they want. With our contract with the OPP, I don't have a problem with the service delivery. I just have a problem with the cost.
And the fact that it's going up.
And that it's going up. And that every time that the policing contract with their members has some item of economic benefit to their police force through their collective agreement, it impacts us immediately here, and sometimes retroactively. How do we budget for that? You can't. It's a spike.
Yeah. Now, it hasn't usually been the case, though, when they do that reconciliation, you get money back?
There's not always do we get reconciliation. We've had one where we had to pay some additional money too.
Right.
Yeah. But historically, we've been getting some monies back. But I've taken into account, with that off, we're still paying too much.
Yeah.
And again, that's got nothing to do with the service they deliver.
No, yeah.
I have every respect for our guys and gals that are out there on the front line, and as well as the administrative staff behind them, and certainly for Inspector Borton. Anytime I need to reach Inspector Borton, I reach him within minutes, and he always looks after any issues or answers any questions or of major concern for our residents through me. I've never had that difficulty, so I have the utmost respect for them. Our problem is with Aurelia at head office and the province with the cost of billing.